So I quit my 9 to 5 job. Um, and it's been a while. I wanted to make this video. It's kind of been on my mind about this whole situation and how I wanted to talk about it. It's been on my chest for a long, long time. And I wanted to share it. So the big reason, but first, yes, I did quit my 9 to 5 job. Um, you know, and this is not a video for someone to feel bad for me or um, for people to kind of take and run out and quit your job. But the biggest reason why I quit my job was because of my father. I never really had time. My father had passed several years ago, and I never really had time. And just to give you some backstory now, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video. I'm just going to talk about my feelings and stuff like that and what I went through. I'm not going to do any editing. I'm not going to do any of that. Um, so years ago, my father had passed, and um, I guess when I was younger, I was always taught to work really, really hard for everything that I have. Um, whether that be in school, whether that be um, just anything in general, just as anybody would be raised to work really hard for what they want and, just to build a future and stuff like that. And when that happened, I remember the day that it happened. I just literally went back to work. I left for a few hours because I was, just supporting the family and things like that. Um, and I just went back to work, and over time has passed, and you know, I remember one day being at work. Fast forward to more recently, this was like about a year ago, and Father's Day had came up, and for some reason it hit me really hard. Then this well, I would say this is about a year ago now. So this I did quit my 9 to 5, but this was back then. And give me a second, guys. Trying to get my thoughts together. So I remember just Father's Day coming up, and um, just like anybody who hasn't had time to kind of have time to handle the situation, because I was always taught to work, as everyone does. You get up, you go to work, you provide for your family, you do things like that. And what ended up happening was that I never had time to let my feelings and have time to heal, if you will. I just was just raised to be this person to kind of suppress emotion. Things weren't really talked about when it came to emotion in my life. And I just remember Father's Day coming up, and it hit me hard. I remember being at work and just being just going through it emotionally. It was tough. It was the toughest thing I've ever dealt with in my life outside of him passing. So I was just there, and it was just a tough time. I remember being at work. I remember um, leaving work some days, and going through, I guess you would say, like, good days, bad days, and things like that. And I want to say this part of the story is not for anyone to feel bad for me. I just want to get this off my chest finally. I want to be able to I want to finally put this to rest. And I feel like it has changed the trajectory of me, like creating YouTube, doing things. And I think as we get closer to the new year, I want to let this go. I want to get past this. And there's a lot of things that happened. So fast forward, it was just a tough time. I needed time to heal. I needed time to deal with the situation, personally. And it was tough. There was like days where I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to work out. I didn't want to make videos. And this is like when I was like creating content on like TikTok and stuff like that, and I still push through, you know. Um, but that I remember one day being at work and I was like, I needed time, you know, so I used whatever time I had available to, you know, allow that time to happen, allow that healing to happen. Time went on, and then you know, obviously you're eventually going to run out of time. You don't have unlimited time as far as sick and vacation, whatever. Which in my mind, in this situation, it didn't really bother me. I was more concerned about myself, my family, and just overall, just you know, healing. And you know, I have a lot. I have hobbies. I have things like that. I have friends and stuff like that. I don't want, you know, anyone to think otherwise. But you know, those things. Even as I'm telling this story, it just I feel like shaken. You know, um, I never really had time to really talk about this. You know, me being African American and Puerto Rican, it you know, you were kind of raised to just not. At least in my family, you really don't. We really didn't talk much about, you know, too many problems when I was younger. So it was just one of those things where I just, from that time to more recently, I just didn't really deal with it. I just suppressed it. And this is one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with. And anyway, it finally came time to kind of just, you know what, I have to, you know, work on myself. So I remember one day talking to my best friend on the phone, and I was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about like leaving, leaving it at the time, leaving my job." And at the time, my job was very, I would say, toxic, as well. There was a lot of things that I had to watch out for. There's a lot of things that were happening, you know, um, that were just, it was in a weird place. Things were very, very weird. And I'll talk about that in another video, because I think I want to also talk about that. So that way, I just want to get all of this out so that way I can move on. Um, and, you know, sometimes you have friends that, you know, they know you very well. Well, you know, they know you very well, but then they think a situation is something that it's not based on how they know you. And, you know, unfortunately, this time I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take it upon myself to get, you know, not get better, but heal over the situation. And this situation that was there just it wasn't for me because it was impeding on my growth and getting better in this situation. And I just decided one day, and I remember driving to work that day, and I was just like, I walked around for like an hour. Like I showed up super early before my shift, and you know, I called my friend and I was telling him like, I think I'm finished, you know, working here. I can't, I couldn't do it, you know. So I walked in, and you know, I did what you know, I don't want to get too into detail about it, but I just walked in and I decided I want to step away. And I didn't have really much of a plan. Um, and I think, you know, what was so reassuring about it was like I was doing something discerning and deciding, hey, I'm stepping away from something that makes me feel uncomfortable. I put my feelings and my thoughts at the forefront. And you know, and I'm not telling people don't work a job. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying people just go out and quit your job. I want to make sure I'm being very clear. I just, in that moment, I felt right before I walked in and did so, I felt this tension, like as if like I did something wrong when I really didn't. And I was like, maybe I could just deal with it. Maybe I could just go into work and, I took some time off. So I was coming back and things will be fine. And then I just thought about how I felt as far as, and I don't want to get into the weeds, but I wasn't a slouch. I was performing very well in my role. I don't want that to be confused with anything else, but I just felt like, not to say undervalued, but I felt like in the moment, what I was feeling was like my family and my mental health was like the most important thing. Um, and some people told me, no, you're crazy. Why are you doing that? It's So I did it. I decided to walk away, and when I did walk away, I felt this weight completely lifted off my shoulders. I can't even explain it. And it wasn't just me having to get up and go to work. That's nothing. You have a job. You're there to provide for your family. You're there to provide stability and also save for your future, and doing things that you really enjoy, especially if you really like your job. And I really loved my job. um you get up and it doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're hanging out with people who have the same like-minded goal. So it was great. I miss the people to this day. I miss even the people that I would help, people that were coming to the business to I would support. I missed that, you know. But I needed time to heal. So I went. I had time, and it was a while. Um, and this is why I tell a lot of my friends, a lot of my family, anyone that I have a really good relationship with, to save your money, invest, prioritize your health, whether it's physical or mental, because you just never know, right? You never know what may happen. You may have a passion project that you may want to step into, or you just may wake up one day and you just sick of it, or whatever it is. So I always tell people, um, I'm sorry, um, I always tell people, I'm so nervous, like telling this story. So that's why I keep drinking water. I'm like, forgive me, y'all. I always tell people to prepare for your future, you know, um, because you just never know what may happen. So this situation really taught me who are my real friends, who was there to support me in this situation like this. It really showed. It really showed who was there for me. Um, and sometimes that's okay. You have to deal with those things. I'm not going to get into that. That's not what this video is about. But it really showed me who was there to support me, who understood where I was coming from, even if I was wrong or right. It showed me who was there for me. And it was a while. It was a long while. And at first I had a sense of relief, then I had a sense of regret, and then later on I had this sense like I made the right decision. I came at peace with my decision, um, to quit my 9 to 5, and I'm so much better now. You know, I'll tell you this: like, I know parents get on your nerves. Parents may ask you, especially if you're in tech, to set up devices. Parents may ask you questions over and over. Um, Parents may, but they're the best. And You know, when you were younger, you didn't understand something. Here we are, you know. So I would tell you this, like YouTube, when I started getting serious with YouTube, like I was posting like almost every single day, it saved me. It saved me from going like completely crazy. Um, it gave me a sense of community. It gave me a sense of home. It made me feel like I was talking to 100 or 800 in this case friends, you know, or 800 people who took the time out of the day to hang out with me. Even if you watched the video for like 1 second, 2 seconds, you looked at the thumbnail, you clicked it, you commented, you know, you clicked the, you know, you, it's a thing, you know, it's a big deal if someone goes to your YouTube video, hits the like button, subscribes, and do all these things that we all our YouTube content creators do and tell you to do. That's a big deal because there's hundreds to millions of people that are on this platform just for content. And it saved me. It made me feel like I was and still am progressing, you know, to something. And it was something that I worked with my two hands. Not something that was fake, not something that wasn't, you know, it was me and my thoughts. And YouTube saved me. But during that process, this process, like it allowed me to have this creative outlet. So I didn't have to think about, you know, for a little while, what was going on in my life. And I'm going to tell y'all, I said this earlier, but if you can, I know if you're working a 9 to 5, a lot of us do, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not going to tell you just to go out and quit your job, but I'm going to tell you this, save for your future, invest, you know, take care of your health, you know, reach out to your friends, your family, whenever you can. It just takes a moment. You get a text message on your phone, you just take some time, even if like you have a day off, go through those people that you haven't heard from in a minute. Just touch base with them and just reach out and be that friend, you know, even if it's just to say, hey, I saw something, I thought about you, or, you know, quick phone call. It takes 2 seconds. If they're busy, just say, I wanted to make sure everything is all right. Just wanted to check in, do those things because it's so important. Life happens so fast. It happens really fast. Like these days may feel like they're like just stuck together by tape, but slow down and just connect with someone. I'm from New York, so a lot of everything is just always going. You're always just going, you know. Time moves very quickly, y'all. It seriously does. And I'll tell you this. Don't, you know, I know this kind of is contradictory to the whole topic of this video, but don't quit your job unless you have a plan, you know. Luckily enough, I had a plan and it worked. I always have a plan. I remember working when I was like super young, a teenager at McDonald's, and my manager would tell me, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And that's stuck in my brain because it's like you could always go, you could just go by the wire, you know, by the wayside. You could just always just go by, you know, how things go with the flow, if you will. But it wouldn't work out as well if you had a nice curated plan. And I'll never forget that. That stuck with me. You know, even till today, you know, I'll tell you, enjoy every single moment, even the hard situations, because we're all human. We're going to get in a situation where we feel uncomfortable and things are going to be tough. but just walk away from it as a life lesson, a learning lesson, you know. And also, you got friends, you got family. Talk about these things, you know, with somebody you trust. Don't just hold stuff in, because it doesn't get any better. Or at least for me, it didn't get any better. And this is the most vulnerable part of my life, because, you know, it's tough losing a loved one. It'll happen. Nothing here is guaranteed, you know. But I'm glad that I took this time, even though this is a super long video and this is completely a 360 from what I normally talk about on the channel. But I wanted to, you know, share this with y'all to empower y'all to be discerning, you know, don't take life for granted. And, you know, I know we all work jobs, but we're more than just a job, you know, or a employee. You know, we're people. I'm so glad I was able to finally make this video. I sat here for a while, starting the camera, stopping the camera, but I'm glad I did. I appreciate y'all, man. I'll see y'all later. Peace.